Hello at night to fight vaccines to the species body. Long, shadow box. Some rest, some pace. Shadow boxing is like arm jogging right around your heart. And without the stresses of jogging. YouTuber Anthony also a boxer, fighter, boxing arts, boxing, USA boxing, many fights. Why did college, double major? I would have gone more before the World Trade Center attack. I discovered roles with uses of that method slash S of overt slash insidious leak communicating other for our founders. That's including distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously as Native Americans. I see president slash chief as two incompatible volumes. They have to figure that out. They have to figure out how to communicate for our founders, how to speak for how their evidence roles, treatments roles, exception nature roles. Way worse than where and how, since everyone was the youngest ages. Their force, tricked, hurt, persuaded to self-value. Lies and or truths used for lies. And that's simultaneously imposed by a breaching method that is part of the answers to American history's questions. What caused slavery had been entrenched in northern colonies and southern colonies, and they weren't just the possessions of distinct nations and international companies. They were fighting with themselves too. This breaching method had already possession over the hyper-native education before the scientists became forced, tricked, hurt, persuaded to self-value themselves through its voices as victims, predators, slash hyper-victim predators at the same time, to describe and to answer all those questions properly with American history, with the sciences that appear not to share an identity. They share an identity, the other has been described not through math. Pantheism is more probably and more practically and increasingly more discernibly, having been more probably about why and how every ism is invisible but still discernible. And there is only the extent of the hyper-invisible but still discernible that we could discern. And it comes with where and how we are individual bodies. And the species body is an individual body. In all exceptions and exception nature that appear to be in demonstration or other are in demonstration of the same thing. Really how and why we're grouped. Ages, areas, sexes. The value of the difference of that. The significance of it. You see the topics in the national slash international news. Conjunctions to it. Every place is a location. All location slash S. Same reason computers have to mimic this. How identity works is a value slash value progression. It is more probable and it is more practical that Allah is 5 identities of positive that can be programmed. Is 1/3/5 identities of positive. This is also what the Trinity is about. One identity. Its identity in relationship to itself. And the only increasing value of that as the identity of space slash existence. This is what the ancients revealed, the languages, distinctly, non-distinctly, and hyper-simultaneously in demonstration of. There are a whole bunch of things that modern religions left communicated directly, but through cipher at the same time. For example, but to appreciate this, you have to appreciate, and this because this is where they knew that all the locations, including their own, would stay collusion/S. I tell best with how the breaching method explained what it knew. Couldn't fathom, the ancients couldn't fathom, even seven ancients couldn't fathom how anyone would consciously, or could consciously, force, trick, hurt, persuade the entire species body of volume, everywhere it is, or could go even to outer space, to self-value, not realize when reacting, non-reacting, and with exceptions, and with timing at all locations/S. Complete possession/hyper-possession of the human syntax nature per method to use it remotely, here and there too, before they were using it here. Native Americans were the last to fall. And that was delayed because of our founders, who did damage control by making a bond, a unity, and an independence that still was measured and maintained. That's how it was used to measure and maintain from abroad. Group too. I already had that. Everyone rolls against each other. Individually grouped and together. Already had manifest with where and how we are syntax nature manifest. Therefore function. Per nature, per algebra, the history of algebra is more probably, and more practically and demonstrably other than is needed, already having been self-value too. That's value when logic now is value. All locations, all kinds of archaeological and hyper-archaeological evidence proofs of a breaching method having effectively engineered and employed off the record before anything on the records. And while that was being put on records, roles with everyone with other motivations, natures, needs, interests. Also with hyper-additional ones. To blame other things, others, or selves for the real causes of positive, negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, including timed collusions with criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments. I am not a lawyer. Lawyers are the number of ways to show recorded roles at the crime scene/S as modern countries A through Z. This method knew effectively modern countries would have to counter what it was doing and does by needing to use phrases like criminal insidiousness and then defending that too by also self-valuing and having been defended as one of the means to use remotely where and how the breaching method employed all identity grounds, voices. How additionally, as humanity's voices, as identity grounds, locations, like employments too. Value systems, tactical ulterior, from that one that is hyper-native. That one, the natives, Americans have been separated from, individually grouped and together, sickly distinctly, just like the rest of us, as themselves too. See, that's hyper additionally to how, as regular American citizens, they have a hyper additional identity, individually grouped and together. That is the possession of the breaching method, but it is also the possession of them and of us. But if we don't see it as the entire species and that trying to discern that identity, that is why, and how all the species have individual groups in together the way they are. And exception nature that appears to be in demonstration of the same of other. For example, singular cell division. I forgot what it's called. Thank you, Boxing.